Welcome to episode 47 of Believe in TCU as part of the Believe Network. I'm Zion Trammell, joined alongside Seth Dowdle, and today we've got a special guest with us here. He's a lead college baseball writer for TCU and hosts just about every show you can think of on TCU on SI. We've got JD Andress with us here today. JD, thanks for joining us on this baseball episode.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I'm really excited to get in, talk a little bit of. I mean, it's unfortunate that we're talking about it already because they're not still playing, but a lot of transfer portal news to talk about today.
Yes, that is kind of the topic today. Unfortunately, the TC baseball season is over. Seth and I discussed that in the previous episode. If you want to go check that out, just our thoughts on what occurred, what transpired this weekend. And it was unfortunate. Definitely came as a shock to a lot of TCU fans. But JD, I wanted to ask you before we dive into all that. What were your kind of takeaways from what happened in Corvallis? What went wrong for TCU? What are some of your takeaways?
Yeah, it's one of those, right, where you look at it as a whole and you're kind of really upset. You're disappointed, of course, in what the results ended up being, but look at the season as a whole. Look at kind of their body of work. This isn't, I'm not saying I expected the result, but the result wasn't far fetched, right, from what could have happened. This was a team that had kind of been playing with fire all season. When you have over 20 come from behind wins, and I'm not talking about just like one run come from behind wins, like you're down multiple runs and you have to come back and win. Like, yes, it shows a lot of heart. It shows that the team doesn't quit, but it's also not a great sign that you're able to just get out to a lead and hold it. And that's kind of been the story with TCU all season, right? Like they start slow. They either put up 10 runs in the first inning or they're not getting a run till the sixth or seventh. And that's kind of been the story all season. And whenever that happens, and they've kind of been able to do that because of what the pitching has been able to do this season. So when the pitching can't compete, or not can't compete, but they just kind of had a bad weekend. It was just like, well, the pitching wasn't there. All right, the hitting will pick them up. Hitting didn't pick them up. Pitching wasn't there. It's just a worst case scenario that could have happened. But I genuinely am like not that heartbroken about it because this team is still really young. I mean, we're going to talk some departing players today, but outside of 2, 3 names, there's nothing to really like break your heart over. One of the names that did leave is worth breaking your heart over, but everyone else should be returning that it's enough that you're like, wow, there's a lot to build on. I mean, they had, I believe it was 8 freshmen played the entire 2 games they had. And when you have 8 freshmen play in a hostile environment like Corvallis is, like it's a big wake up. Like one of the things that, Carson Worsfold and I talked about on the podcast before we did it, and I talked about a few other podcasts, was this freshman class had never really played in a hostile environment this season. There weren't really many true away games. They played at Texas Tech, but it was during spring break. Nope, no students were there. It wasn't really hostile. I mean, there wasn't anywhere that gave them a true road game feeling. And I think that's kind of one of those where it was nice during the season, but it kind of hurt them at the end of it.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Didn't even really think about that. I'm like, you were talking about that. I'm trying to think about all the road games that they played. I'm like, yeah, they didn't really have like a true test. And so,
They had Arizona, but Arizona is a really good postseason environment. It's never really a good regular season environment.
yeah,
You're
no,
telling me that
that's
the
true.
UCF fans weren't rowdy?
The UCF fans and the broadcast were more worried about the bird that they had flying around eating.
Oh, I
That
forgot
entire
about that. I
weekend.
remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. It was all. It was. I think I saw more clips of that than I got to see of the game.
Well, that series kind of sucked from a TCU perspective, so maybe we did want to just watch the bird anyway.
A lot of weekend series sucked if you really go back and look at them. I'm telling you, the season was really weird. Like this, the record was really good. The RPI was really good. The team looked really good on paper. But if you watched every game, you were like, man, there's some flaws in the team that are very blatantly able to be seen, but they're able to fight through them. Sign of a really good team, but also a sign of a team that if they have a bad weekend, it's bad.
Yeah, it's very true. There's a lot of things that you could see and like, oh, if this runs into them, but yeah, and I think starting from that Arizona game in the Big 12 championship, I kind of thought, okay, it is what it is. You there's bigger and better things to move on to, and then it just never got they're never able to get the ball rolling in Corvallis. But yeah, it definitely came as a shock. But like I said, what Seth and I already discussed, and you mentioned it too, JD. It's a bright future. There's a lot of young players that um, contributed this season. They got that postseason taste, even if it was only for 2 games. They understand that what it's like to lose and what that atmosphere will look like, and you can better prepare yourself for it because you have that experience. So not the result fans wanted, but I don't think there's a whole overreaction that needs to happen, or change needs to take place. It's you know I think within the next couple years, TCU will continue to get better and hopefully get back to Omaha. um all right, we've said our piece about the regionals. Let's get into the transfer portal, because JD was like Sham Sharania, Jeff Passan with the tweets. A lot of them coming out while we were recording, or just before we were recording our last episode. Um, the big one that everybody was kind of talking about was Trey Newman. Just kidding.
That's the one I'm most upset about, and you can ask Carson about it.
Well, okay. So why is that? Why Trey Newman?
Did you guys ever get to watch Trey Newman pitch in person this season?
I did not get to watch him pitch in person.
Seth, did you watch Trey Newman pitch in person this year?
I did not watch Trey Newman pitch in person. I don't know if anyone watched Trey Newman pitch in person, though.
I did. I've watched him multiple times pitch in person. I'm telling you, he has the best slider I've seen on the entire team. Probably the best slider I've seen in a while. And that says a lot because Luis Rodriguez has a disgusting slider. So the potential was always there. He's a Team USA player. He's got phenomenal stuff. He's got a fastball that sits 93, 94. He's got a cutter that sits 90. He's got a slider that has over, I believe it was like top 98% percentile in spin rate for his metrics. Like, it's disgusting. Mm-hmm. He just never, when he came in to pitch for TCU, he never really looked great or has good stats. Like, it's just one of those where he came here. He was so good. I was so excited about him all offseason when TCU got him, and then he just never really looked good here. And then it's not one of those where I think the Trey Newman one is more of a mental thing where it's, sometimes pitchers need a fresh start. Pitchers are the weirdest creatures on earth. Like, I think this is one of those where he's just going to need a fresh start, and that's why he's transferring out. But that's the one that hurts me the most because I've been so excited for him. His metrics are so good, and I'm a big numbers guy, so it really hurts me.
Yeah, the reason we mentioned that is because we were reading a Oregon State on SI, and they mentioned Trey Newman, and we're like, as like someone to, it's like a transfer. Like, I'm not sure we're gonna see him on the field, but like.
Yeah, no, I you didn't see him, and the last time you did see him, if you were a TCU fan, was on April 8th. Oof. Like. He had 5 appearances this season.
Yeah.
And gave up 4 runs. So
yeah, I know.
Well, hopefully many more where he ends up. Like, hopefully he has many more, not runs, appearances.
Yeah, appearances. Yeah, we do wish Trey nothing but the best, but we had to bring that up. Okay, so obviously that was not the biggest news coming out of the transfer portal for TCU. JD had the scoop there with Carson Bowen entering the transfer portal. That was obviously significant news. Maybe not a surprise to some. I think there were a lot of people that were a little shocked because of the kind of person and player he was for this team, and you thought that he was going to ride through with the Horned Frogs. But as JD and I were texting about it the other day, there's kind of some other reasons that's happening. And JD, I'll kind of let you discuss that a little bit, that process. How did you find out, or if you can discuss that and maybe why he's hitting the transfer portal?
Yeah, so I won't disclose who I was speaking with just for
that's totally okay.
But I also found out from this person about the entire injury, what went on when he got hurt. I broke the news when he fractured his ribs at the last weekend of the season against Utah, and he was, I think that kind of started setting it in motion. He was absolutely gutted that he wasn't going to be able to play. He didn't even travel to Corvallis, by the way. He was at home the entire time. But from the person that it's a very close, person to him, but they basically told me that he feels his best shot at getting drafted in the MLB draft was by playing catcher. And all season, you kind of never really got to see him play catcher just because Nolan Traeger was there. And TCU as a whole feels that Nolan Traeger is just a little bit better defensively than Carson Bowen. Which, in my opinion, I think that's kind of a toss-up. Like I think I prefer Carson Bowen for the arm more than Traeger, but I think comparatively for defense, they're not that much different. But I that's kind of what led to it. Is he felt that his best spot to be drafted was at catcher, and he went into his exit interview meeting and basically said that, wow, North Carolina is pouring it on now. He went into his exit interview and was basically like, look, if something happens and he works out with Sarlos that he'll get at least 50-50 time at catching, then maybe he'll stay. But if essentially he was told that it wasn't going to happen, and he decided to hit the portal. And now 64 Analytics has him as the 33rd ranked portal entry in the country. Not the highest portal entry from TCU, surprisingly. Yeah.
Trey Newman's number 1 in the country, you're telling me? What in the world?
He's actually so good they don't even give him a metric. He's actually not the number 1 ranked portal entry prospect. But yeah, it's one of those where he's the heart and soul of the team, and that hurts more than what. Obviously he refound his groove this year at the plate, but I think he hurts this team more by leaving as the heart and soul, especially if there's a potential departure of Ben Abel, potential departure of Anthony Silva. Like, this was your veteran status player. So there's a kind of a lot to be desired for what Bowen brings to the plate, at least offensively, but it's not really based off this year because he rebounded off of last year, but it's when you have a young team, having a player that's would have been in his 4th season at TCU, leaving kind of hurts.
It does, because he built a really good rapport with the fans and with TCU as a community, and I loved watching Carson Bowen play, and I'm excited to see where he goes next. I'm just hoping it's not like another Big 12 school, so we don't have to, Arkansas. Is that what I just saw there, Seth? Is he going to take the Logan Maxwell route?
We're going to call it the Logan Maxwell pipeline.
Gotcha. Well, we'll keep an eye on that. Seth, do you have any sort of reaction there with Carson Bowen hitting the portal?
JD kind of mentioned it a little bit, but I do think like the biggest impact is like with all these guys that were on that team that made it to Omaha, potentially leaving at some point in the near future, that I think is going to hurt more than I think we all kind of realize, right? Because you were looking at this team in general, right? The only player that was on the field during the Corvallis Regional that was on that team that made it to Omaha was Anthony Silva. And that's kind of wild because that was only like 2 years ago, but you really would like to see a lot more experience for the Frogs, like show up and kind of, galvanize the troops a little bit. And that wasn't able to happen in Corvallis. But yeah, it really does suck. But, I get it. If he's not feeling like this is the place for him, then that's totally, that's what the transfer portal's for. And this is an age of player empowerment. So he's free to do whatever he wants. And we'll root for him no matter where he is. That's for sure. I don't think there's any ill will toward him from any fan that I've seen. Just kind of a lot of sadness and like we wish he could have stuck it out here. But yeah, I think he'll do good no matter what. And I mean, like, I kind of agree with his assessment that his best chance of getting drafted is being a catcher. So because he's a really good catcher. So.
He is, and we're definitely rooting for him and excited to see where he'll end up. It's a shame, that's the era of the transfer portal, and obviously there's going to be hopefully a better opportunity for him to catch, and TCU certainly should feel good about where they're at that position. There was a couple other pitchers and a couple other players that hit the portal. Mason Bixby, um, Tommy Bridges, a couple others. JD, is there anything that you want to discuss that maybe TCU fans should be, um, you know, maybe I don't know if concerned or is there any other player that left that kind of stood out to you really so far at least?
Mason Bixby is probably my biggest name that left. 64 Analytics actually has him ranked higher in the transfer portal than Carson Bowen. They have him as the 19th ranked player in the country in the transfer portal. And that's because of the potential, right? You saw it his freshman year. He was throwing 100 off the mound as a freshman, had absolute zero control. Also, did not have an off-speed pitch. Like, it's just simple facts. Like, I'm not even trying to badmouth him. Like, he just simply did not have control. He didn't have an off-speed pitch. This season, he kind of came in. Coaches talked with him. They worked with him trying to lower his fastball speed to try to find more control. And he was still sitting 96, 97 and was hitting the strike zone a little bit more. It was able to develop a nice curveball. Started working on a changeup a little bit, but never really threw it that much. But the potential is still there with Bixby. He's going to go to a really good pitching program school, probably like potentially Mississippi State with Brian O'Connor. I mean, he knows how to develop pitchers really well. And if someone can get him to learn control, then he's going to be a lights out pitcher. So I think losing a power arm like that, because he was kind of the only one besides Tommy Laporte that could hit 99, 100 for TCU. And it's not something that's absolutely necessary in college baseball, but look at a lot of the top end bullpens that are still left in super regionals. A lot of them have guys that are throwing that speed. And TCU losing a guy like that does definitely hurt, at least for a change of pace pitcher. The other one that stands out for me is Jack Schrager, because I love the Traeger family is awesome. Great, Nolan plays, but Jax is good. Like, Jax is a good pitcher and just never got any opportunities with TCU. His curveball is disgusting. His fastball has nice rise to it. Like, he's a really good pitcher, and I hope he gets a really good landing spot to get some opportunities for his final year. But outside of those two, I mean, Carson Cormier maybe hurts a little bit just because he had a few innings with TCU. But if you look at the TCU recruiting class that's coming in, there's a lot of talented pitchers coming in. That eventually, there's only a limited amount of space that someone had to go. So it's Seth, you talked about it's the unfortunate side of what sports is now, right? Like, you can't just hoard all these players. Eventually, someone has to leave to open up a spot. So, I mean, it's gotten to the point where there's even some players, some recruits who had TCU revoke their scholarship just because they're running out of spots. So it's just an unfortunate part of where college athletics are right now.
That could be a whole episode of just an hour-long conversation. That's something that we've talked about in the past, and it's the changing landscape of college sports. Yeah, and of course, you're always anxious, like, oh, who's going to stay? Found out Noah Franco is returning, which is absolutely huge for this team, and a lot of the younger guys, staying as well. So that's pretty significant news. It's not just about who's leaving, but it's also about who's staying. So I think that was worth mentioning. Really excited and fired up that Noah Franco especially is returning. But JD, is there players that TCU is going to be focusing on in the portal? Do you kind of have that information of like position group, or are there players that you feel like that they could be going after in the portal? Again, it's still kind of in the early stages, but do you have any information about that?
Yeah, one of the names that I'm really excited about, and I know that he's talked with TCU on that end, is Ethan Thomas. He's a pitcher for Hawaii. He's got a fastball that sits 92, 94. He was electric for Hawaii, especially in their conference tournament. I know TCU's been in contact with him. He's got really, really good stats. I mean, he's someone to take a look at. You could find him on Twitter. He's got Sorry, I just got some Bowen news that I was looking at. He hasn't committed to anywhere, but a lot of SEC schools have reached
Okay.
out.
Don't don't you have to say anything, but just wink if one of them is in Fayetteville, Arkansas.
No team names, but let's just say
Yeah.
he's got no shortage of landing spots right now. So
Okay.
I do think that's interesting. But yeah, Ethan Thomas, really, really good metrics on what he's got going. Another name to look at is Aiden Lee. He's a grad transfer. He's extremely interesting. He's throws a sinker that has a lot of horizontal movement, and it's 97 miles an hour. So exceptional pitch speed for a sinker. He's a sinker primary pitcher. And he throws a cutter that's 87, 88. So that differential is gross.
Yeah.
That's another name to kind of just keep an eye on. There's a decent chance that he takes the draft route this year instead. But you never kind of know. I mean, especially in the world of NIL, there's a chance that he gets a bigger bag coming to potentially TCU or somewhere and decides to go stay the college route for one last year. So you never really know. But from what I've seen so far, is TCU is going to be focusing a little bit more on relief pitchers, at least for now. Just because I think part of that decision comes into if Ben Abelt returns, right?
Yeah.
Because let's say if Ben Abelt returns, you're looking at a weekend rotation of Abelt, Tommy Laporte, and Mason Brassfield. That can win you a national championship. Mm-hmm. That can get you to Omaha. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then it allows you to keep your relief pitching options open. You got Trevor Baumler still. Or let's say they even keep building up Ben Abel and throw him back in a closer role. Like there's plenty of options they can go. I think that's part of what's holding them out on fully going in on the portal right now is they're kind of waiting to see who's going to return to the team still. Like Anthony Silva still was making up his mind on if he'll be returning for next season or not, or go to the draft. Same with Ben Abel. I know Cole Kramer will be returning. Colton Griffin will be returning for the offense. So they're really not losing that many offensive players. So I think it's going to be a pitching primary portal, maybe a starter, but mainly off-season or relief pitchers.
That's good. That's what you like to hear. Maybe another Wichita State pitcher coming in through the portal. Why not keep that pipeline going?
Oh, I'm sure there will be one.
It's worked pretty well so far. I'd say pretty solid. Having that Wichita State.
It's going to be weird seeing a Wichita State pitcher not wear 49 though, because Laporte will be returning. So that'll be a little odd because Tolley was 49. I don't know. I think it's just like a designated jersey number. Like, you know how like certain teams have like A&M has 12 is for the captain of the team. 49 is just saved for the Wichita State transfer at this point. Just you have to wear it.
That's perfect.
It's in the bylaws of the university, actually.
It's part of the Flying T Club agreement that they signed when they come here.
Yeah.
Yep. No, that all makes sense. Yeah, interested to see when. So, do you have any idea of when we could hear about Ben Abelt specifically, about what his when it happens, it happens?
I shot him a text last week. Still making up his mind a little bit. So
yeah,
it's truly, in my opinion, a 50-50 chance. Like I think it's one of those where it's like most case scenarios where a lot of senior college baseball players coming off from an injury is, he's still mocked to go in the third, fourth round of the MLB draft, which is still really good. But there's a chance that he falls in the draft because teams are scared of the injury. And so there's a chance that he could just decide to come back. But I mean, there's also a big risk in that as well. So, it's one of those where I don't think you can make a wrong decision in what he chooses, but it's a lot to consider. It's again, the state of college athletics. No one's going to fault him for leaving. No one's going to fault him for going somewhere else. No one's going to fault him for staying. Like it's it's their career. They can finally do what they want to do with it.
Mhm.
And if he were to, decide not to go to the draft, he is going to be a Horned Frog. That it's those are the two options. It's not enter the portal and go somewhere else.
As far as I know, yes. That's as far as I know. Those are the only two options. There is
Got
no. If he decides to stay in college baseball, it will not be for TCU.
Those are some pretty good options, Ben. That's a hard decision.
Yeah,
That is a hard decision.
It's the same with Anthony Silva. He's kind of deciding about going into the draft or staying. Now I wouldn't put it at 100% that he stays at TCU if he stays in college. I'd put it at like 95%, but that's only because of some other things I've heard that I'll tell you guys when we stop recording, just because I don't feel confident enough to say them on air. But I think he's still in that same boat, and it's one of those where he had a really good bounce back year this year. Well, not a really good. He had a good bounce back year at the plate this year, especially compared to what he put up last year, and he was starting to kind of come into his form again at the end of the season. So it's one of those where he could kind of take that, use his defense to get drafted and get a shot with the team, or bank it all on himself to be able to get it going next year again at the plate.
Well, that was good. Great hearing all that, and we're definitely going to be keeping an eye on what's going on in the transfer portal. And with TCU, it's always a crazy time of the year. You just never know who's going to enter the draft. All that good stuff. Before we take off, though, we got to talk about the super regionals. So JD, this is the first time you're on the pod, so here's the thing: when we make picks, we don't always bring top tier analysis. A lot of the time, it's based off vibes. Now, at this point of the year, I think we all kind of have a decent understanding of these teams, and we know what their strengths and weaknesses are. But we're not going to go super deep into what we think is gonna. That's for the real experts to break down. So I'll just kind of run through it really quick. What do you guys just quick thoughts of who do you think's going? Arkansas, Tennessee. We'll start with that super regional.
Oh,
I've
boy.
been trying to find a way for them to both lose, and I don't think it's possible. So,
unfortunately, it's not, and that just means that Arkansas is going to win. Unfortunately, I just hate to break it to everybody. Unfortunately, that's not the case. I mean, fortunately for me, big hog guy over here. I'm repping today because the Frogs are sad. So I decided.
Look, man, I want DVH to get his first one. He deserves it.
I do too. I want Logan Maxwell to get his first of many.
Yeah.
Logan Maxwell, fun fact, was in my orientation group at TCU. I just want to throw that out there.
Actually, you're the reason he left?
Probably.
You're the one that coerced him to go to Arkansas?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
You're like, look, you could stay at TCU for a little bit, but there's also this school in Arkansas that can, work out really nice.
Yeah, I was laying the seeds of that back in 2021.
Yeah. You knew what kind of player he's going to be.
Here's the hot take. Arkansas wins it all this year, and Dave Van Horn retires after they win it all.
Hey, that's what you got. He's going to be the head coach there until they actually win. So we could be doing this for about 70 more years if he doesn't win it this year.
He told I forget what team it was in their super regional, but he was like, "Hey, I'm not far behind you in retiring," and I think he's just waiting to get that championship, and then he's out.
For that reason, I'm going with Arkansas. I like their odds there. All right, next one we got a Big 12 team, West Virginia. They got through to the super regionals, taking on LSU. Both these teams, they had different paths. LSU had to fight and claw their way out, in West Virginia, I believe they swept. Right, they won all three.
Mm-hmm.
They did.
Yeah. So kind of interesting how they both teams got here. But who do you guys like, West Virginia or LSU?
LSU and the run differential is like 18.
Yeah.
Any team that has to fight against Little Rock Doesn't have my vote of confidence. But that's not a vibes pick, though. That's an analysis pick. The vibes pick is still West Virginia, solely because of like they have a weird conference record. They're 19-9 in conference instead of they missed like 2 conference games. I find that funny.
Yeah.
So they're gonna win. They're gonna win this
That's
because of that.
I like it. I like it. Yeah. I'm picking LSU, but I'm rooting for West Virginia.
I
We'll
am
see.
not.
No, that's fair. I'm just rooting for the Big 12 team here. So we know who Ray Cartwright is rooting for.
Yeah.
We know it's not LSU. But
Betting the farm on
that
West Virginia, Ray Cartwright.
yeah. We know who he's pulling for to win it. But I think that could go to 3 games, and I'm gonna take LSU. All right. Next up, we got UTSA and UCLA. What are our thoughts here?
Meet.
Heck yeah, dude. Let's go. UTSA rolling to Omaha. Come on.
Listen, man. Listen, I'm sorry, UCLA, that you have to face the Roadrunners, the ultimate vibes team in this tournament that is left. Maybe Murray State would have an argument there, but yeah, UTSA. I met a UTSA alum for the first time last week, and I asked them about the baseball program, and they were very confused.
I was going to say, were they wearing Texas gear when you met them?
No, well, no, they were wearing. That's funny. They probably a Texas donor though.
Yeah. Give me UTSA, man. Come on. Roadrunners, let's
play
do
the
this.
national title in the Alamo Dome.
Let's do it. Let's
get real weird and go to the Kibby Dome. Let's get real weird with it.
Yeah, why not? Let's we're all in here. Yeah, I'm gonna go UTSA. All right. So speaking of the vibes, we got to talk about Duke versus Murray State. Now, I know nothing about Murray State. I didn't watch them play in the regional. Is this like a polar bear in Arlington, Texas situation? Why are they here? Or can they actually pull this off and beat Duke? No.
Listen,
no,
the
Murray,
fight
Murray
Hunter
State's
Wolf,
going to sweep.
The fight Hunter Wolf's. Hunter Wolf, former TCU right fielder, assistant coach at Murray State. You're gonna lead the Racers to victory over the Blue Devils. This is the easiest pick ever, Zion.
Yeah, it's a Murray State because then it sets up Murray State UTSA Game 1 of the College World Series. That's electric.
That is what college baseball is all about right there. All right.
And that's going to be Game 1. They're not throwing that on at night. That game's happening at 11 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah, they are burying that game because they want LSU Arkansas potentially at night.
That would be on the CW, or you could put that on like anything. Like you're not seeing that on ESPN. Sorry, it's like they're bringing an exclusive group, exclusive people just for that. Like bringing CW people just for that game.
Yeah.
Like we're gonna cover that game. It's not worthy of being on ESPN, but it should be because we need to be supporting the vibes teams here, and that's what we need. We need UTSA and Murray State. So
if UTSA and Murray State match up, they need to treat it like a presidential address and just change all of the public network channels to that game. Just force the masses to watch.
Yes. This is important.
Yes.
This is showing that maybe the SEC isn't as great as we all thought. Look, it's Murray State.
Would you rather watch UTSA Murray State at 11 a.m. or Arkansas LSU at 7 p.m.? The answer is simple.
It's pretty simple to me.
I'll probably watch both of them.
One's a hate watch, though.
Yeah, one to be like, ugh, and the other to be like, yes, this is what sports is all about right here. Okay, we're gonna run through these last 3 or 4 here. Oh, I guess we have 4. So Auburn, Coastal Carolina. Give me Coastal Carolina because I love their logo.
I hate both teams
Coastal.
equally, so I'm gonna unfortunately pick Coastal Carolina.
Do you still have, animosity towards what happened in 2016?
Yes, that, and then I'm a Raging Cajun, so I just don't like Coastal
Mm.
Carolina to begin with.
That's
A
right,
little
yeah.
Sun Belt rivalry.
Yeah. It's yeah, I don't really like them.
Yeah, that I forgot about that. JD is, has ties with Louisiana, so that kind of presented some interesting ties there when the TCU and Louisiana matched up in football in December. And then TCU destroyed them, but that was a very interesting week for you, I'm sure.
Where's Billy Napier when you need him, man?
He's about to win the SEC. That's where he is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That was pretty interesting. Okay, next up we got another Big 12 team, Arizona, taking on UNC. Apparently they're playing right now. I don't know what the score is. I think JD and Seth both looked. What's the score?
UNC is winning 5-1.
Okay. Well, I picked UNC to win before, and I feel confident that they're going to do it now. I think the run here for Arizona is going to come to an end.
Listen, these uniforms that North Carolina has on right now are so beautiful that you could put anybody in these uniforms and they'd beat anybody. I'm convinced of it.
Yeah,
That's
I
true.
have text proof. I picked North Carolina. North Carolina is also my national champion, so I have to pick them.
There you go. All right. Last two. We've got Florida State and Oregon State. Didn't think that Oregon State was gonna pull it out after losing to St. Mary's in that first game, but here they are. Give me the Beavs.
Beavs. They're vibing. You talk about vibes. They're a vibe team right now.
They are vibing. That their bats are gonna take them to Omaha.
Nah.
Beth? Nope. Florida State?
Nah. Do you remember? Oh, North Carolina just hit a 3-run homer.
Yep.
Good. Well, that's rough. Man.
I guess it doesn't matter who I pick here because North Carolina is going to beat all of them anyway. So,
yes.
Yeah, but give me Florida State though.
Okay. Cool. Finally, we've got Miami and Louisville. Again, I'm not super familiar with either team, but vibes are telling me Louisville here.
I hate Miami, so Louisville.
Fair enough.
Louisville, neither of these teams are. This is one of those things where like they both showed up to the Super Regionals and they're like, "Oh, we're here. How do we get here?"
Yeah. Yeah.
And now they have to. Now they're going to face each other.
Yeah, it's nothing like off the chart. Like I feel like it hasn't really. I haven't seen a whole lot of conversation about this Super Regional. It's not really been. Maybe I'm not looking in the right places, but I haven't seen much for it.
There's just no one that cares about it. It's the least
There's no one there.
It's the least interesting Super Regional. Like there's really kind of no storylines. Like Oregon State, Florida State's fun. Like that's 8 versus 9. UNC, Arizona, Big 12 champ. Coastal's a fun story. Arkansas, Tennessee's electric. LSU is always a great place for Alex Box. Murray State's a good story. UTSA is a good story. Louisville, Miami's just kind of there. Like,
yeah. It's like
Miami's story is like we got run rolled by Cal in the ACC tournament and now we're here.
Oh my gosh.
Remember that, guys? And everyone's like, no, actually, we don't remember that at all.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Yeah, I don't really care who wins, but I'm picking Louisville. JD and I are in a TCU on SI like picks here. Like we're doing a standings update thing, where we pick each round of the college baseball playoffs. I'm in third place. I don't know how I got there, but I'm in third. And so there's been some fun competition amongst all the writers for TCU on SI. I know JD and Carson Worsel have kind of a friendly. There's a reason that Carson's not here. I would love to have Carson on, but I was scared that if I brought him on, there might be a fight that might break out here on Believe in TCU.
Carson
All
and I
joking.
can't even record our own podcast without getting into a fight. It's a running joke. It's not really even a joke anymore. Yeah, Noah Darling and Micah Butel of College Baseball Central called us a bickering couple. And I was like, it's accurate.
Yeah, Carson, if you're listening to this, we would love to have you on the show, but I wasn't sure if it was the greatest idea to bring both of you guys on at the same time, because Seth and I just would have had to sit back and just let y'all hash it out,
We would have
But
had to.
yeah, but again, that's gonna wrap things up here for this episode. JD, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate all the insider info that you've been able to bring for us today. Give us a better idea of what's going on with the transfer portal and reasoning and all that. And it was fun talking about TCU and what's going on this weekend with Super Regionals. Y'all can follow him on Twitter or X, whatever you call it, at JD Andress 11. That's where you'll get all the TCU baseball information, as well as football and basketball. I mean, JD is all over it with all the sports at TCU. So he's a really good follow if you're a TCU fan to get the latest information and news on that. So again, JD, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. Football content is already starting up on my X account, so go ahead and look out. I'll be doing a full deep dive on the entire depth chart soon by position group. So that'll be coming out here within the next 2 weeks, and I'll have a few more details and deep dives on some of the new transfers and some incoming recruits that fans don't know about. So it'll all be coming out soon. Baseball is over. Time to shift into football mode.
Exactly. Yeah. Excited for all
catch.
that. that Arizona UNC game's going crazy. But again, that'll wrap things up here for this episode of Believe in TCU. You can subscribe to our YouTube page, follow us on Instagram, listen to us wherever you get your podcasts, all at Believe in TCU. So for JD Andress and my co-host Seth Dowdle, I'm Zion Trammell. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time. And as always, go Frogs.